Morning. We're here along I-71 in Delaware County with an important reminder to those traveling on our roads. Distracted driving will no longer be tolerated in the state of Ohio. Ohio's new distracted driving law that was passed last April had a 6-month grace period. That grace period is now over. It is now illegal in most cases for anyone to use or hold an electronic wireless device, such as a cell phone, while they are behind the wheel. Today, beginning today, if law enforcement sees a driver distracted by their phone, that driver can now be immediately pulled over. Police officers, and troopers no longer must wait until that individual committed a separate offense to be able to pull them over. But you know, this new law is really not about writing tickets. This new law is not about fines. What this new law is about is saving lives. We have already seen in this 6-month grace period that lives have been saved. And that's what the data clearly shows. So I asked the Ohio State Highway Patrol to look at the total number of distracted driving crashes every month going back to January 2018. These are just some interesting statistics. Last month, September, saw the lowest number of distracted driving crashes in almost 6 years. Let me repeat that. Last month, September, saw the lowest number of distracted driving crashes in almost 6 years. There were 576 crashes last month compared to the stunning number of over 1,300 crashes that occurred in May 2018. Now let's compare just this year versus last year, year to date. First 9 months of 2023, there were 1,255 fewer distracted driving crashes as compared to the same period in 2022. Let's look at deaths. Deaths caused by distracted driving. And these are deaths that we know were caused by distracted driving. There probably were many others, but these that we know. Deaths caused by distracted driving decreased 25%. This 9 months versus the same time last year. 25 in 2022, 19 in 2023 for the same period of time, same number of days. Finally, when you compare March of 2023, which was the month before the law went into effect, to September of this year, the last month of the grace period, distracted driving crashes went down nearly 30%. And that's before a single ticket associated with this law was ever issued. The law is a teacher. The law is, most of us, most days, are trying to conform to what the law says. And so it sets a bar. And that's what we've seen in the last 6 months. That data is specific to crashes where law enforcement had evidence that distracted driving played a role. But drivers obviously don't always say that they were distracted, that was the cause of the accident. So we know that this is an underreported thing. We again look back over nearly 6 years to 2018. If you exclude April of 2020, which as we will remember was right into the beginning really of the pandemic, when we had a lot fewer people who were driving. Last month again set a record. September 2023, last month, had the fewest overall crashes by far compared to every other month. There were 14,458 total crashes in September 2023. That's compared to 29,000, over double, 29,000 total crashes in January 2018. That's a difference of more than 50%. Comparing January through September this year to the same time period last year, there were nearly 23,000 fewer crashes overall. Traffic fatalities also are down over the same time period. Around 24 fewer people were killed on Ohio's roads. The law is already saving lives. This law will continue to save lives every single day. In my State of the State speech last year, I told the state legislators that at no other time in their career would they have an opportunity to pass a bill that would save so many lives. And so I want to thank the members of the General Assembly who passed this bill. It has saved lives already. I'm also grateful to every person who thought twice about picking up their phone while driving over the last 6 months. Your actions have saved lives. A recent poll conducted by the Fix Our Roads Ohio Coalition found that out of every 1,000 licensed Ohio drivers, 90% were aware of Ohio's new distracted driving law, and 75% that they themselves will cut back on phone usage while driving. In fact, according to Cambridge Mobile Telematics, which analyzes anonymous phone interaction data from devices that are connected to things like insurance discount programs and safety apps, the time that people were on the phone has gone down in the last 6 months. Again, more evidence that the law is a teacher, and it does in fact make a difference. Now that the grace period is over, local law enforcement, as well as the Ohio State Highway Patrol, will have zero tolerance for those who make the choice to drive distracted. Troopers are now launching multiple new high visibility enforcement efforts to watch for people violating the new law. This will happen on various distracted driving corridors in the state, including the one on I-71 behind us. Again, the goal is not to issue tickets. The goal is to save lives. Let me now go to Colonel Jones, who will tell you more. Colonel, thank you for the effort that you and the men and women of the Ohio State Highway Patrol are doing every day to keep us safe.
Thank you, Governor DeWine. Good morning, everyone. I'm honored to be here as we discuss the dangers of distracted driving. I have served with the Ohio State Highway Patrol for nearly 30 years and have personally witnessed on countless occasions the detrimental effects of distracted driving. We know every time someone takes their focus off the road, even for just a few seconds, they put their life and the lives of others in danger. Law enforcement officers see the deadly consequences of distracted driving on a daily basis and the tragedy that's left in its wake. More often than not, these distractions involve the use of an electronic device. I can tell you from my personal experience that notifying someone that their loved one is not coming home is never easy. We as troopers, we take it to heart. Our job every day is to ensure that motorists make it home to their families and that we make it home to ours. Distracted driving is unsafe and irresponsible, and in a split second, the consequences can be devastating. That is why distracted driving corridors like the one behind me are so important. Throughout the remainder of this year, troopers will be committed to high visibility enforcement of Ohio's distracted driving laws, both within these corridors and on roadways across the state. However, it won't stop at the end of this year. Troopers will continue to make distracted driving violations a priority in Ohio to reduce the number of serious injury and fatal crashes on our roadways. As you all know, effective today, enforcement of Ohio's new distracted driving law begins. Motorists may now receive a citation from Ohio's law enforcement officers if they are observed using an electronic device while they are driving. As a reminder, there are items that are absolutely off limits while you are driving, such as dialing a number, sending a text message, looking through social media, video calls, browsing the internet, watching videos, playing games, and recording or streaming videos. I also want to be clear with these next points because there are some exceptions to this law in which drivers may use their electronic devices while driving. Some of those exceptions include drivers reporting an emergency to law enforcement or similar emergency entity, drivers holding their phone to their ear only during phone conversations as long as the call is started with a single swipe or touch, drivers holding or using cell phones or other electronic devices while stopped at a traffic light or parked on a roadway during an emergency or road closure. For a first offense of this law, a driver will receive 2 points on their driver's license and up to a $150 fine. However, for the first offense only, the points and fine may be waived by taking an online distracted driving course through the Ohio Department of Public Safety at no charge. These penalties associated with distracted driving follow a 2-year look-back rule. What this means is that any driver who has previously committed an offense to the Ohio distracted driving law within a 2-year period will incur increased penalties. Drivers with multiple distracted driving violations committed within a 2-year period can expect the following penalties. For a second offense, the penalties are 3 points on the driver's license and up to a $250 fine. And for 3 or more offenses, the penalties are 4 points on the driver's license and up to a $500 fine. In those instances, the violator will also be subject to a possible 90-day license suspension. It's also important to note that violations of this law within a work zone will result in the fine being doubled. Like changes to impaired driving over the past couple of decades, we truly believe this new law will inevitably change behavior and the culture stigma associated with distracted driving. I am confident further strides in traffic safety will be realized this year and in the years to come. Governor DeWine, those strides will be tied directly to the assistance provided by the General Assembly in passing this important distracted driving legislation, and to you, sir, in signing the bill into law. This new law will help achieve our mutual goals of increasing traffic safety on our roads and providing law enforcement officers with the tools to help change driving behavior. That's what it's about. It's about changing driving behavior, which will ultimately save countless lives on Ohio's roadways. I would now like to turn it back over to Governor DeWine. Thank you.
No one has done more to make Ohioans aware of distracted driving than Dom Tiberi. Those who have lost a child spend a lifetime trying to understand it, trying to make some meaning out of it, and we never do. What Dom has done and what his family has done is taken the pain of their great loss and taken action that has already saved many lives, and that in the years ahead will spare many families from the pain and agony of losing a child or losing a loved one. So I think it is very appropriate that we have Dom here today. And Dom, thank you for all that you and your family have done and continue to do.
I never imagined that I'd be doing something like this. You know, I would much rather be talking about our Buckeye football team. But, you know, it is an epidemic, and I am honored and proud to be here. I was just in Delaware, as a matter of fact, yesterday with the police chief over there. We did Maria's Message at Delaware Hayes. It was our 154th presentation. Over 130,000 kids have now heard the message. As the governor said, my wife and I's foundation We originally put 54 simulators around the state of Ohio, primarily with police departments, and now we have opened 3 simulator labs. We have one at Tolles, we have one at Eastland Fairfield, we have one at Fort Hays. 6.5, 7 hours of training for children, 16 different lesson plans, and that will continue. I believe our mission is changing the culture. There's no question in my mind that this new law will save lives. In every state that has enacted this has seen a significant decrease in serious crashes and a serious decrease in deaths. We need to change the culture and make people understand that distracted driving is dangerous driving. When I was a kid, nobody wore seatbelts. Now you don't think twice about it, and that is what we need to do with this distracted driving epidemic, as I call it. Make no mistake about it, while this law will save lives, and it already has, we cannot write our way out of this with tickets. We all need to do better. As parents and grandparents, we need to set a better example for our children. It remains the leading killer of the age group 2 to 24. And to me, as parents and grandparents, we should be screaming that in the United States of America, that is not acceptable. You know, the statistics don't lie, but you must remember, every statistic has a name. Every statistic has a family. There is nothing I can do to bring Maria back. Believe me, if there was, I would. There's nothing the governor can do to bring his beautiful child back. So we fight. That's what I do. I fight. And I'm fighting to save lives. And this bill will save lives. I commend the governor. I thank the governor for his leadership and his determination in getting this law passed. And we will change the culture. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lamont Shelton, and I'm the Transportation Manager at Ohio Department of Transportation. This distractive driving law it's a big concern for us there at the garage. We deal with this daily. We are working right out here on 71, and we set up signs, we wear high-vis uniforms, and the distractive driving is the problem that we have, because the first thing they say is they didn't see our signs, and when there's near misses, that's the first thing they say is, we didn't see you. Well, most of the time it's because they're on their phones. So this distractive driving law will help save a lot of people's lives. We all just want to make it home safe to our families. Part of my job is to make it safe for the public, to make it safe to their destination. So that's my job to do, and if Ohio would just put their phones down and keep looking out for us, we would greatly appreciate it. We all want to get home.
I'm Andy Wilson, Director of the Ohio Department of Public Safety. Good morning. Today truly is a historic day in the effort to save lives on Ohio's roadways. Drivers who are caught using or holding a cell phone or other electronic wireless devices while operating a motor vehicle will be pulled over and will now face consequences for this dangerous behavior. The enforcement of this new distracted driving law will save lives, and it will keep your family, my family, and all of us safer on Ohio's roads and highways. Back in April, our mission was to ensure that drivers knew the changes to Ohio's distracted driving law and that they followed them. And I want to acknowledge the Ohio Traffic Safety Office, the Ohio Department of Transportation, and the Ohio State Highway Patrol for their hard work over the last 6 months to help educate our drivers about how this law will affect them. We know saving lives on our roads requires really 3 things. It requires strong laws, it requires public education, and it requires enforcement of those laws. Thanks to the Ohio legislature, we now have stronger distracted driving laws here in Ohio. And today, after 6 months of education and warnings, we now have the very crucial enforcement piece. It's time for drivers to commit to changing their behavior and to put their phones away while they're behind the wheels. No more texting, no more emails, no more selfies, no more scrolling while you're driving. Remember, as our campaign states, phones down, it's the law. Today we're also announcing a new updated media campaign with the goal of encouraging drivers to put their phones down. Ohioans will soon see TV ads and social media ads with a reminder that you should never use your phone when you're behind the wheel. As the Colonel said, this campaign is focused on changing behavior and raising awareness that enforcement is now in effect, and fines start at $150. Fines and points will increase for any subsequent offense, and they will double if you commit this offense in a work zone where our workers are keeping our roads so that we can drive on them. The consequences for distracted driving go far beyond just getting a ticket and having to pay a fine. Every time you pick up that phone when you're driving, you could potentially cause a wreck. You could potentially cause a crash. When you do that, you put yourself at risk, you put your passengers at risk, you put everyone around you at risk for serious harm and potentially death. As Governor DeWine mentioned, we are encouraged by the new telematics data that shows that Ohio's strengthening distracted driving law is already making a positive impact on our roadways. The numbers show that Ohio drivers are now spending less time handling their phones while driving, and that's just since the new law went into effect on April 4th. This shows that drivers are beginning to change their behavior without penalties being applied. Look, there's still more work to do, but we expect an even bigger drop now that citations are going to be issued. And we expect a bigger drop in this behavior now that more educational messaging is going to be available to drivers. The goal is always for drivers to put their phones down for the entire time that they're behind the wheel, because there is no level of acceptable distracted driving. In the next few weeks and months, our Traffic Safety Office will be working with 45 safe community programs across the state, including one here in Delaware County. These programs work to spread the word and inform drivers about the risks that come with distracted driving. These are community-based programs. These programs are critical to saving lives and reducing injuries on our roads, and they work through collaboration with state, county, and local partners. We must continue to work together to make our roads safer for all drivers, all passengers, all pedestrians, all motorcyclists, and all of our roadside workers. We simply cannot lose another life to distracted driving. It's preventable, and there's no excuse for it. Governor, we thank you for your leadership on this issue, and we stand ready to put your vision into motion. Thank you.